This is the cheapest Specialized Tarmac SL4 in the country. It cost me just £400. It's 10 years old. It's a bit rough around the edges, but with a nice upgrade from today's sponsor, Aliexpress, with carbon wheels, it looks pretty decent. But how does it compare to the latest version of the Tarmac, the 2025 SL8, costing £8,250? Apart from the name on the down tube, these two bikes have nothing in common. This bike is from an era when lightweight was the key focus, but now it's all about aerodynamics. So does that mean a faster, better bike? Well, today in this video, we'll find out. We'll put both bikes through their paces and find out whether the newer bike is actually faster and better and more fun to ride than its classic here. So let's dive in and find out. To give my second-hand hero a fighting chance against a brand new SL8, I have made a few small upgrades. When I bought the bike, it was a bit rough around the edges and needed some TLC, so I fitted a new cassette, chain, crankset, saddle and stem. But the biggest upgrade from today's sponsor, Aliexpress, are the Elite wheels. A carbon fibre 50mm deep rim with the same S-Works tyres, the same width and same tyre pressures on both bikes to make the comparison, the test, as fair and balanced as possible. The first test is surely what they weigh, because while I'm not a weight weenie, road bikes have been getting lighter over the decades, but how much lighter is a modern bike compared to a bike with rim brakes and mechanical shifting and a much simpler frame design? So the Tarmac SL8 is 7.3 kilos in pounds, 16.18, while the Tarmac SL4 weighs 7.6 kilos precisely, so 300 grams heavier than the newer bike, 16.75 pounds. And that weight difference really surprised me because, to be honest with you, I did think the SL4 would be lighter, given its simpler, lighter rim brakes and mechanical shifting. And the bikes are broadly the same specification in terms of carbon frame, layup, and the Ultegra group sets. But yeah, the SL8 is lighter. Not by much, but lighter it definitely is. But how do both bikes ride and which is faster around the same test track? Well, I'll get changed and we'll find out. I'm riding both bikes around the same test track at an average power of 220 watts. It's a rolling course with a few corners, climbs and descents and different road surfaces to see how both bikes compare. As well as seeing which bike is faster against the clock, I'm also testing for stiffness, comfort, handling, ride quality and general performance. And I'm using the same tyres and pressures on both bikes as well, while testing has been conducted on the same morning to remove as many variables as possible. And straight away, the SL4 does feel good. Nice fit on the bike with the longest stem I put on. Quite a wide handlebar by the sort of aero narrowed trend. And the wheels have made a big difference to how fast it feels. Way more comparable to the SL8. But the SL4 still handles these crappy roads really well, despite being on quite a narrow tyre. It does fit 28s, which I've been riding as well in the background, but I put these 26mm tyres on as the same tyre came on the SL8. Okay, climbing out of the saddle. They both feel really good, but I think the SL8 had the edge. Just feels a bit sharper, a bit more ready to respond and go and close down that gap on the bike here. I would say, based on this ride today, that with the upgraded carbon wheels, the SL4 does not show its age. It does not feel a 10-year-old bike at all. Yes, there's external cables flapping around there, causing you drag, and there's no one-piece cockpit. But I quite like an old-fashioned two-piece setup with a round handlebar. And it still rides really well. Good geometry, pretty much unchanged through the generations of Tarmac. Nice short wheelbase, changed direction very well. Nice light steering as well. Yeah, it's a great bike. The SL8 straight away just feels quicker. Seems to get up to speed more easily and quickly, and holds that high speed more easily. And there's definitely less power required on the power meter on my Wahoo right now. And the SL8 has a more explosive character when you are sprinting. Oh wow, what a bike, my goodness me. Blimey. But these handlebars, as I said in my review of the bike, link to that down below, they're still too wide. They should be narrower. For a modern aero bike, 42 is simply too wide. And something you can't change very easily or cheaply at all. Yeah, the SL8 is definitely a rapid bike and definitely quicker than the old SL4. There's not a lot in it, but the way it feels just lightning quick. Really is very impressive indeed. But honestly, I am surprised just how well this old SL4 rides, especially with a carbon wheel upgrade on it. But perhaps I shouldn't be that surprised because, well, it's not that old, is it really? But in terms of the tech changes and the visuals, the two bikes couldn't be more different. The only thing they have in common is they're specialised on a down tube. But riding them on the same route just now, they do feel very similar. They're not that different in terms of ride dynamics. The comfort of both bikes is very good with the same tyres and tyre pressures. They handle through the corners in a very similar manner. The SL8 does have the edge in terms of kind of outright speed and responsiveness, and when you really get on the power and you're gassing out corners and up climbs, it does feel faster and more immediate. But what about the brakes? Rim brakes versus hydraulic disc brakes. Which stops quicker and nicer? Well, let's find out in 3, 2, 1, brake. Well, I slowed down slowly with some noise. In 3, 2, 1. Whoa! So yes, big difference. Almost quite alarming just how good the brakes are on the modern bike versus the old bike. So if you want to stop quickly, then the SL8 wins hands down. Right, I'm back in the studio with my scoreboard to see which bike is best in this head-to-head. Give each winning bike across these categories 1 point and see which has the most points at the end. And we'll start with speed. And the times were 21 minutes and 33 seconds for the SL8, and then a time of 22 minutes and 47 seconds for the SL4. So that is 1 point to the SL8 and 0 to the SL4, but not a lot in it really. And then comfort, more subjective I know, riding both bikes on the same tyres and tyre pressures, but riding both bikes back to back, the SL8 is clearly just a bit smoother, but the SL4 is still very impressive indeed. Next, handling. Well, they have more or less the same geometry, the stack and reach and the head and the seat tube angle, so very similar, and they both handle very well. The SL8 is sharper, definitely a stiffer bike, so a bit more responsive, but I'll give this a draw, so 1 point each. And then stiffness. The SL4 is still a very stiff carbon race bike. When you stamp on the power, it really leaps forward. But the SL8 is clearly a step ahead in terms of outright stiffness. When you're really sprinting hard, you're climbing up steep gradients or closing a gap in a peloton. So very close again, but 0 for the SL4 and 1 for the SL8. And then the braking test. Well, as I showed earlier, it's a clear win to the hydraulic disc brakes of the SL8, so 1 point there. So as you can see, the SL8 is the clear winner in the criteria on which I've been judging both bikes in this head-to-head comparison. So what did I learn in this test? Well, the newer bike and the more expensive bike is clearly the faster bike. Big surprise there, not really. But I was surprised just how good the old SL4 still rides. And if you put aside the big difference in braking performance, the whole bike still rode really well, and I can still see myself riding that bike very happily. the way it handles, the comfort it offers and the stiffness, and it's a good looking bike. And I think it's a better looking bike, to my eyes at least, than the newer SL8. I think the design of frame with a curved top tube and that big down tube, one of the best looking bikes of the last decade. So yeah, apart from the brakes, it's still a very good bike indeed. And this comparison also illustrates the power of an upgrade, especially the wheels. These carbon wheels made a big difference from the stock alloy heavy non-aero wheels the bike came with, and really closed the gap between the two bikes very nicely indeed, and shows how much a carbon fiber wheelset can really benefit any bike, especially an old bike like this. But ultimately, you don't need a new bike to go fast. This bike is still fast, if not as fast as a newer bike. But if you're not obsessed with marginal gains and aerodynamics and get to a cafe ahead of your mates, then the old bike, yeah, it's still a decent ride. So today's video has been sponsored by Aliexpress, where I bought these wheels from. And right now their summer sale is live. You can get up to 80% off a huge range of cycling upgrades like these on Aliexpress this summer. And just for you lucky viewers, there are some exclusive discount codes on screen right now and linked down below, saving you up to £50 off orders over £200. And there's more. There's also the Aliexpress Cashback Challenge. Simply join my team on a smartphone app. Details on how to do that down below. Very easy, very simple. And when you shop on Aliexpress, you'll earn points and get 5% cash back. And the best bit is, the more you shop, the more you save. You can unlock up to 10% cash back and save up to £450 in total. How amazing is that? And if you want to buy these wheels, which I highly recommend, they're on sale right now for less than $400, which is a bargain. So much performance and an easy way to upgrade your road bike this summer. So find out more details on Aliexpress, all linked down below in the description of today's video. But that's all for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and drop a comment down below. But with all that said, I'll see you again very soon.